He smirked like it was funny, like taking my money, betraying me, and vanishing with another woman was just some harmless prank. And when I stood there shaking, eyes filled with disbelief, he looked me dead in the face and said, "Relax, you'll get over it." That moment changed me. I stopped being naive. I stopped believing love meant safety. That was the day I realized I was sleeping next to a man who saw me as a joke. Lucas and I were together for just over 3 years. We met at the DMV of all places. He offered me a napkin when I spilled coffee on my application form. It wasn't fireworks or fairy tale, but it felt warm and familiar. He was charming, easy to talk to, always knew the right thing to say. He made me laugh when I was tired, called me his calm when the world felt too loud. I thought he was solid. I thought I could build a life with him. He started spending more nights at my place than his. His apartment was 40 minutes from work. Mine was just 15, and it made sense for him. I liked having him close. I liked being needed. We'd talked about moving in together for real when my lease ended. I started saving for us, quietly, tightly, every grocery split, every canceled Uber. Every time I said no to myself, I said yes to our future. That account meant something to me. It wasn't just numbers. It was every sacrifice no one saw. I brought lunch to work every day, brewed coffee at home instead of Starbucks, skipped nights out while he told me we'd figure things out together. I had $2,800 saved. Not much to some, but to me, it was hope in dollar form. I never thought I needed to protect it. From him. Last Friday, I tried transferring $300 to cover my car insurance. When I opened the app, I almost dropped my phone. The savings balance said $267. My chest tightened. I kept blinking like the numbers would fix themselves. I checked my transaction history. 3 days ago, $2,550 withdrawal. My mouth went dry. I hadn't made that withdrawal. I hadn't even been near that branch. I called the bank. The woman on the line was calm and kind, which somehow made it worse. She confirmed it was done in person with ID. I felt my stomach twist. Lucas had seen my banking app. He had access to my wallet. He knew my PIN. And while I was asleep, or showering, or just trusting him, he was plotting. He stole from me, casually, deliberately, and then he disappeared. I called him, straight to voicemail. I texted him, asking if we could talk. He replied, hours later, out with the guys, back tomorrow. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every part of me wanted to believe there was some other explanation, some emergency, some surprise. But in my bones, I knew. I just didn't want to know yet. Saturday morning, I opened Instagram and checked his best friend's stories. I never do that, but something told me to look. There he was, Lucas, shirtless, smiling, drink in hand. And next to him, her, a girl I'd never seen. Brown hair, red bikini, his arm wrapped around her waist. Vacation vibes with the lovebirds, the caption said. Cancun. They were in Cancun. I stared at the screen so long it dimmed and shut off. I sat on my bathroom floor for over an hour, trying to understand how this could be real. He used my savings to fly to paradise with another woman. While I was skipping coffee and packing leftovers, he was sipping cocktails and touching someone else. And the worst part, he didn't even try to hide it. 3 years. And that's what I was worth to him. $2,850 and a lie. When he walked in Sunday night, like nothing happened, something in me cracked. He dropped his bag by the door and tried to kiss me like he'd just come back from the gym, not from a stolen vacation. I stepped back. "Where were you, Lucas?" I asked, my voice flat. He blinked, caught off guard, then mumbled something about the guys, a cabin, no signal. I showed him the photos, the beach, the girl, the smirk on his face. He didn't flinch, just rolled his eyes like I was being dramatic. "It's not what it looks like," he said, grabbing a beer from my fridge like he lived there. "She won a trip." I tagged along. I asked him about the money. He barely looked at me when he said, "Yeah, I took it. I was gonna pay you back." Like it was a favor. Like that made it better. Like stealing what I spent over a year saving was a casual IOU. I told him he stole from me. His reply? "It's not stealing. We're together. What's yours is mine." I just stared at him because I didn't even have the words. He kept talking about how I was overreacting, how it wasn't rent money, just extra, how $2,800 wouldn't get us anything decent anyway. I could barely breathe. My hands were shaking, but I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stood there, frozen in place. Then he looked at me, dead in the eye, and said, "Relax, you'll get over it." That's when the tears came. Not because I was hurt, but because I was angry. Angry at myself for trusting him, for sharing my passwords, for believing his lies, and angry at him for taking what he wanted and walking around like he hadn't done anything wrong. He wasn't sorry, not even close. I asked him if Jasmine was his girlfriend. He paused just long enough to give me my answer, then said no. "She's just a friend," he claimed. Like friends go on romantic beach trips and call each other baby in Instagram captions. He couldn't even lie properly. He wasn't ashamed. He wasn't even trying to fix it. He looked at me like I was an inconvenience, like I was the problem. That's when I told him to get out. He laughed, called me ridiculous, said his place was far and he had work in the morning. I didn't care. You should have thought about that before you emptied my account. I snapped. He got mad, said I was impossible, said Jasmine wouldn't act like this. That's when I knew he thought he still had power, that he could cheat, steal, lie, and still be welcome in my home. He grabbed his bag, slammed the door, and left. I stood there in silence, then slowly dropped to the floor. I didn't cry this time. I just felt blank, like someone had turned off the sound inside me. My whole body felt cold, like I'd been standing in the snow too long. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't even breathe. All I could hear was his voice. Relax, you'll get over it. The next morning I called in sick. I couldn't go to work. Not like that. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship, wondering how I missed it. All the little red flags I'd brushed off, the nights he stayed late, the passwords he asked for, just in case, the way he joked about how bad I was with money. I thought it was love. It was control. By the afternoon, I'd changed every password I could think of. Bank accounts, emails, even my Wi-Fi. I canceled the debit card linked to that savings account, called the bank again, but they said what I already knew. Since he had my ID and access, it wasn't technically fraud. My best option was small claims, court. I hung up feeling hollow. Justice wouldn't come easy. Then I called my best friend, Chiara. I hadn't wanted to. I felt embarrassed, ashamed, but the second she picked up, I broke down. I told her everything. She didn't ask why I let it happen. She didn't blame me. She just listened. Then she said the words that mattered most. He underestimated you, but he's about to find out. Ciara came over that evening with 2 bags, one full of groceries and the other full of comfort. She made pasta while I sat in silence, still shell-shocked. She didn't push me to talk, just let me exist. I hadn't eaten all day, but when she handed me a plate and said, "You need strength to get even," something shifted in me. I didn't want revenge. I wanted closure, but maybe both weren't so different. That night we went through my apartment. Every item he'd touched, every hoodie he left behind, every receipt from our shared weekends, I threw into a box. It felt like pulling thorns from my skin. I taped it shut, labeled it in Sharpie, "Not my problem," and set it by the door. That was the first night I slept more than 3 hours since it all happened. I locked the door and put a chair under the handle, just in case. The next morning, I called my landlord and asked about changing the locks. He said he'd send someone. The next day, I didn't want to wait, but I also didn't want to explain why I was suddenly so afraid. While I waited, I Googled small claims court and started a document. Theft by access. I attached screenshots of my bank transactions, Felix's name, on the withdrawal, and a copy of the Cancun resort receipt Jasmine posted in her highlights. Then came the texts. First, from an unknown number, "We need to talk." I didn't reply. Then again, "You're being dramatic. It's not that deep." I said I'd pay you back. My stomach turned, but I didn't answer. When I blocked the number, another came. "You're seriously acting like I killed someone. Chill out." The audacity of calling me dramatic while I sat here trying to figure out how to afford rent next month? It lit something in me. I screenshotted every message. Chiara said I should consider a restraining order if he kept pushing. I wasn't sure it was that serious yet. But then, on Thursday night, while I was throwing out trash, I turned around and saw him standing at the end of the hallway. Just standing, watching, like he belonged there. I froze. "What do you want, Felix?" I said, trying to sound steady even though my knees were shaking. "I came to talk," he said, like it was nothing, like it was normal. I told him to leave. He smirked. "So you're really gonna throw away 3 years over a few dollars?" That's when I snapped. I walked right up to him and said, "No, I'm throwing away 3 years because you threw them away first. For a girl you met at a staff meeting and a beach that wasn't yours to stand on." He looked stunned. "Good." I slammed the door in his face. The next morning, he left a note under my door with $120 and a post-it that said, "See, I told you I'd pay you back." I didn't even touch it. I took a photo, then flushed the money down the toilet. Dramatic, maybe, but it felt like reclaiming a little piece of dignity. Ciara said I should have kept it. I said I don't want charity from a thief who thinks partial refunds make things right. Over the weekend, I did something small but powerful. I deleted every photo of us from my phone. At first, it felt wrong, like erasing a part of myself. But as I scrolled, I realized how many of those smiles were just mine. He looked bored in half of them, absent in the rest. I deleted them one by one, and when I was done, I felt lighter, like my memory had more space for better things. Sunday night, I got another message, this time from Jasmine. "Just so you know, we're done. He's all yours again." I laughed out loud. I didn't reply. Let her believe I wanted him. Let them both pretend I lost something. But the truth is, I walked away. I cut him off. I'm not his clown. I'm not his backup plan. I chose peace. And now I'm starting to rebuild. Monday morning came with something unexpected. Silence. No texts. No voicemails. No envelopes at my door. For the first time in 2 weeks, I drank my coffee in peace. I was half convinced he was gearing up for some bigger stunt, but nothing came. Just stillness. And somehow that scared me more than all the noise. But I told myself, maybe silence is what healing sounds like at first. I went back to the bank that afternoon with all my documentation. The teller wasn't very hopeful. They said civil court would be my best option again. But the woman at the next counter overheard and leaned over. Small claims. File it. Even if he doesn't pay, it's on record. I nodded, heart racing. I wasn't just going to get even. I was going to make it count. That night, I started writing a letter to Felix. Not to send, just to say everything. I never said. I wrote about betrayal, heartbreak, humiliation, about how he underestimated me, about the moment I knew I was done. Then I folded it in half and slid it into my journal. Some truths are just for you. They don't need a witness. They need a grave. Tiara came by with Chinese takeout and news. Guess who Jasmine is crying about on Instagram Live? She held up her phone. Jasmine, in smeared mascara, sobbing about men who lie and steal. In the comments, he left her too. Her girl, he did the same thing to my cousin. My jaw dropped. It was a pattern. I wasn't special, just another name on his list. Weirdly, that made me feel better. The next day, I passed Felix in the parking lot at work. He wasn't supposed to be there, but he was, leaning against someone's car, acting like he belonged. When he saw me, he didn't smile. He looked tired, ashy, smaller somehow. He said nothing, neither did I, just kept walking. I felt my chest rise with pride. That was the moment I knew. I didn't need closure. I was the closure. Later that week, a mutual friend texted, "You good? Felix says you're losing it." I nearly dropped my phone from laughing. Losing it? I was doing better than ever. I sent a screenshot of my new apartment's lease, my budget app, my therapy receipt. "Watch me thrive," I wrote. I didn't get a reply. I didn't care. Let them keep watching. Let them choke on their own stories. By Saturday, I had a new bank account, new locks, and a new rule. If you don't protect my peace, you don't get access. I spent the evening lighting candles and cleaning in silence. It felt like exhaling after years of holding it in. I played a playlist of songs I used to love before Felix decided what I should like. I danced in the kitchen with tears in my eyes, not sad, free. That night, I stood by my window and whispered it out loud. I was never the problem. Not when he called me dramatic. Not when he laughed in my face. Not when they mocked me at that bar. Every insult, every dismissal, every betrayal, it said more about them than it ever did about me. I spoke it again, louder. I was never the problem. The next morning, I opened my laptop and filed the paperwork for small claims court. It was symbolic, yes, but also real. I wasn't chasing the money. I was documenting the truth, making the pain count, drawing the line. Because sometimes, justice doesn't come with sirens. It comes with receipts. And when I hit submit, I smiled. Not because it was over, but because I was just getting started. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. It felt both far away and suddenly too real. I didn't even know if Felix would show, but I was preparing as if he would. I had screenshots printed, statements highlighted, Jasmine's DMs backed up. Carla joked that I had enough evidence to make a Netflix docuseries. I half smiled. Good. Let the world watch him squirm. 2 days later, he texted from yet another new number. Let's not drag this into court. I'll send more money soon. I didn't reply. A few hours later, I received $400 through a peer-to-peer app. No message, no apology, just a transaction. I screenshotted it. Not because I was grateful, but because I was done playing his game. Payment doesn't erase betrayal. Around that same time, Jasmine posted again. This time, not crying, laughing, bragging about how she'd dodged a broke bullet and was seeing someone new. Felix wasn't even a footnote in her story anymore. That was the moment I saw it all clearly. He didn't just lose me. He lost everything, and he didn't even realize it yet. That weekend, Carla and I drove to the lake an hour outside the city. I hadn't breathed real air in weeks. We sat on the dock with cold sodas and sunburnt knees, and I told her something I hadn't told anyone. I think I'm proud of myself, not for surviving. Anyone can survive, but for not shrinking when he tried to crush me. Monday brought another knock at my door, a certified letter. It was from Felix, a written apology. You were right, I was selfish. I ruined the one good thing I had. I almost laughed. He didn't even spell my name correctly. 3 years. Together, and I was still just an afterthought. I ripped it in half and tossed it out. Let the wind carry his regret. I had no use for it. At work, I got promoted. My boss said it was long overdue. You've been stepping up, showing leadership. I wanted to say, I've been in survival mode, but I just nodded and smiled. That night, I bought myself takeout and lit a candle. For once, I let myself enjoy something without guilt, without explaining, just joy. I hadn't cried in days until I saw my savings account. It wasn't full, but it was mine again, clean, untouched. Every dollar in. There was earned, not stolen, not borrowed. I cried because it meant I could breathe, because the version of me who ate instant noodles to save $10 deserved this little piece of peace. A week before the court date, Felix tried one more time. He left a voicemail, his voice shaking. I lost everything, Lena. I lost you, my job, Jasmine, even my apartment. I know I don't deserve it, but please. I didn't even finish listening. I forwarded it to my folder. My body didn't react anymore. No shaking, no anger, just a dull echo. You did this to yourself. And that night, as I lay in bed, I whispered to myself again, like a mantra. I chose peace, because I did, and I will keep choosing it, over revenge, over chaos, over men who smirk when they steal from you and act like it's no big deal, over friends who laugh while you cry in public. I chose peace, and they can all watch me thrive. The court hearing came faster than I expected. Carla went with me, holding my hand while we sat in the hallway outside the courtroom. Felix arrived 10 minutes late, unshaven, wearing a wrinkled dress shirt like he'd slept in his car. He wouldn't look at me. I didn't look away. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't scared of him anymore. I wasn't his victim. I was the consequence. The judge asked for facts. I gave them calmly. The stolen money, the screenshots, the fake accounts, the threats. Felix tried to interrupt, his voice rising, claiming I was blowing things out of proportion. The judge shut him down with a simple look. He shrank in his chair, finally quiet. That was the moment I knew he'd already lost. We didn't even make it through the full session. The judge advised Felix to repay the money immediately or face civil penalties. Felix stammered something about being between jobs. I just sat there, steady. Your Honor, I said, this isn't about money anymore. It's about accountability. The judge nodded. And today, he's being held accountable. Outside the courtroom, Felix tried to approach me. Carla stepped in front of me like a wall. He muttered that I was cold, that the Lena he knew would have forgiven him. I stared at him for a long second before replying, that Lena trusted you. You killed her. This one doesn't forget what betrayal tastes like. Later that night, Carla and I celebrated with cheap champagne and takeout sushi. We danced in my half-furnished living room like we were 22 again, screaming along to breakup anthems. I laughed so hard I cried, and this time, the tears didn't hurt. They were mine, pure, cleansing. They were the sound of freedom. The next week, I got a letter from a collections agency. Felix had listed me as a personal contact for a loan he hadn't paid back. I sent them the court documentation and a firm reply. I am not responsible for his life anymore. He's not my problem. He never was my solution. I blocked the agency too. I started therapy. First session was brutal. I didn't know how much I'd swallowed until it started spilling out. The shame, the rage, the loneliness. But the therapist said something I wrote down in all caps. You didn't lose him. He lost access to you. I reread that sentence every night for a week. One day at work, a package arrived for me. Inside was a small leather notebook. No sender. Listed. Just 2 words scribbled inside the cover. I'm sorry. I recognized the handwriting. Felix. I gave it to my manager. If he sends anything else, let me know. I'm done accepting anything from him, especially apologies. It's been 30 days since the court hearing. I've saved $800. I booked a solo weekend trip to the mountains. I leave Friday. Just me, a borrowed camera, and silence. I want to stand on a cliff, breathe in cold air, and remember who I was before I handed my future to a thief in disguise. They laughed. They mocked. He called me dramatic. She called me pathetic. But I rebuilt myself in silence. I walked away. I cut them off. I chose peace. And now, every time I open my banking app, every time I hear my own laugh, every time I sleep without shaking, I get even. It had been 6 months since I last heard from Felix. Not a call, not a message, not a knock at the door. His silence was a gift. My peace had become non-negotiable, but one afternoon while grocery shopping I saw him, by the frozen section, holding a cart of cheap microwave meals, looking deflated, smaller, like guilt had shaved inches off his soul. He didn't see me at first. I froze, my breath caught mid-chest, but I didn't turn away. I stood there, steady, until he looked up and locked eyes with me. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Just a weak half smile and a nod. I nodded back. That was it. No words. No drama. Just quiet recognition of 2 people who had burned each other. Carla called that night. You okay? She asked. I told her what happened. She was ready to drive over with ice cream and wine, but I told her I didn't need it this time. I was okay, truly. Seeing him didn't shake me. It didn't undo me. It reminded me how far I'd come. That's when I knew I had healed. A week later, I got an email from Felix's mom. Subject line, closure. She wrote that he was in a recovery program for substance abuse and financial counseling, that he'd asked her to tell me thank you for everything, that losing me was the wake-up call. I stared at the screen for a while, then I hit delete. I didn't need his thanks. That same week, I got a promotion, a raise, a new title, my own office. I walked in and shut the door, just to hear the click of solitude. I sat at my desk and smiled, whispering to myself, "You did this. Nobody gave it to you. Nobody took it from you." I hung up a photo of me and Carla on the bookshelf. My chosen family, Felix's friends, most disappeared, but Andy, of all people, messaged me 6 months later. He apologized, said he didn't know the whole story, that he believed Felix and was ashamed of how he treated me. He offered to buy me coffee. I declined. I told him I appreciated the apology, but I wasn't interested in reopening old wounds. Closure isn't coffee, it's distance. At a friend's dinner party, someone new asked if I had a boyfriend. I laughed. Not bitterly, not sadly, just honestly. No, but I had a parasite once. I'm good now. Everyone cracked up. It felt good to own it, to laugh about it without flinching. Pain had turned into story. Shame had turned into strength. I started dating again, slowly, carefully, on my terms. I wasn't looking for validation or someone to fill a void. I just wanted someone who wouldn't take from me while calling it love. One man, Dean, asked on the second date what I'd been through. I told him just this. I survived betrayal and came out better. That's all you need to know, for now. My savings are past $2,800 again. Full circle. I even bought a new couch. One I picked. One no one else has sat on while secretly texting another woman. It's soft, slate blue, and it holds my body like it knows what I've carried. Sometimes I fall asleep on it, wrapped in silence, and feel more safe than I ever did with Felix. Here's what they don't tell you. Healing isn't loud. It's not a dramatic montage or an Instagram quote. It's quiet mornings, locked doors, deep breaths, laughing again without flinching. And one day, out of nowhere, you realize, he underestimated me. He thought I'd break, but I rebuilt. Watch me thrive. I still remember his voice when he said it. Relax, you'll get over it. Like he didn't just steal from me. Like he hadn't just shattered the life I was building. That sentence used to haunt me, echo in my head during quiet moments. But now I smile when I think about it. Because I did get over it, and not the way he meant. I rebuilt everything he tried to destroy. I changed my locks, my routines, my patterns. I stopped shrinking to fit the mold he wanted. I stopped explaining my worth to people who were committed to misunderstanding it. I stopped giving away parts of myself just to keep the peace. I chose me. Every day, I still do. There was a time I thought I needed closure, an apology, an explanation. But healing didn't come from him. It came from silence, from solitude, from rewriting the story without the villain. It came from Carla showing up with pizza, from budgeting apps, from a couch I paid for myself, from laughing again, loud and unafraid. Felix was a storm I survived, not because I was stronger than him, but because I refused to stay broken. He called me dramatic, said I was overreacting, but I wasn't his clown. I wasn't his safety net. I was the woman who walked away and never looked back. I cut them off. I chose peace. I got even, by thriving. And him? Last I heard, he's still blaming everyone but himself, still waiting for someone to save him, but I'm not his savior. I'm not his second chance. I was never the problem. He underestimated me. Let them all laugh. Let them think I'd fold. But here I am, standing, glowing, unbothered. I won't say I'm glad it happened. That would be a lie. But I'm grateful for the lesson, for the mirror it held up, for the fire it lit under me. Some betrayals don't break you, they build you. Some endings don't ruin you, they rescue you. And this one, it freed me. So if you're where I was, crying on your bathroom floor, staring at your empty bank account, wondering how someone you loved could be so cruel, hear this. You will get up, you will rise, and one day you'll look back at the wreckage and realize you were always the storm. He said I'd get over it, and I did, by becoming someone he'll never have access to again.